this is a circa 1812 flintlock musket. Now, this is based on the 1789 French musket design, and was common used by the militias of the United States, and even the armies of the United States that didn't have rifles. Rifling was certainly known. The British used rifles at the Battle of New Orleans against the Americans, so it wasn't something that was unusual. What made the musket important is how quickly you could load it and fire. So the rate of fire from a musket was a lot higher than it would be if it was a rifle. A rifle could, it took 2 to 3 minutes to load a rifle, and then you only get about 3 to 4 shots before it's going to be fouled, and you're not going to be able to fire it again until you clean it. But the musket keeps on going. It's very inaccurate, but if you load enough of them together, shoulder to shoulder, and fire at once, you're almost certain to hit something. And that was the reason for, when you see military maneuvers at this time, even up to the Civil War, why are they standing shoulder to shoulder and moving as a unit? That's why that close order drill is, so that their muskets can hit something. Now, this is a flintlock. We get our expression lock, stock, and barrel from here. These were still expensive weapons to own on the frontier. So the first thing you would do is that you would want to buy a stock. That's the wooden part, or maybe you would make it yourself. So then you're going to go to a blacksmith and have him make you a barrel. And that's this long piece here. And so that long tube might take some, going to cost you some money. And then finally, you're going to buy a flint lock, which has a pan and a trigger, and you will prime it by putting some powder into the pan and pulling the hammer back. The first time you release it, squeeze the trigger, it's going to get the trigger ready to fire, and then the second time you release it, it's going to actually strike the flint against the cover, and that spark will then ignite the powder that's in the pan and shoot the bullet out the barrel. Now, as you can see, it's a long barrel. The weight is up front. So one of the things that armies often did, soldiers often did, is that they would load their gun ahead of time so it's ready for that first mass volley. So they're carrying this, and of course, you do not want to put powder in the pan while you're walking. So you're going to carry it by the barrel. You're going to have the barrel pointing down, and now you're ready. You march into the battlefield, and you're ready for that first order to get ready to fire a volley. Now, let's say that the officers decided that where you're at does not make sense anymore, that you're better off in a distance. Well, maybe you have already put powder in the pan. So now you're having to march again. The barrel is down, and the pan has got powder in it, and you're having to go, and you stumble. And when you stumble, you trigger the hammer to strike, and the gun goes off, and maybe it shoots yourself in the foot. So now you know the expression, don't shoot yourself in the foot, which comes from our days of marching with these long barrel rifles.